statistic you have. However, it's just facts. It's a fact, right? Mm-hmm. That they've been able to bounce back. And how good is Arizona? I mean, Arizona put a walloping on the Rams, and the Rams are decimated now. I mean, they're donezo, right? They don't have Cooper Kupp. They don't have Puka Nacua, and they're both gone for multiple weeks. Nakua's on IR, and Cooper Kupp's probably not far behind with that. So, but the Cardinals are able to do that. They pounded them to the ground. They beat up Matthew Stafford. Hopefully the Lions can keep Jared Goff upright, and maybe they get the ground game going to take a lot of the pressure off. But I'm curious to see what is the game plan for Arizona. Obviously, Jared Goff's not going to tell us. Dan Campbell's not going to tell us in the morning. And, don't expect any tweets coming out on social media from Ben Johnson saying, hey, we plan on running the ball 50% of the time.
Right.
But I'd like to see, I'm dying to see what they decide to do.
All right, I want to take some of what he had to say there and revisit it. It's Jared Goff joining us here on 97.1 The Ticket. Open lines, 248-539-9797. Hey, Twin Peaks fans, we got some big news for you. Bourbon and Brews is back for the fall. Every Wednesday, your favorite Twin Peaks girls dressed in their black lingerie, serving up samples of special bourbons and beers. Stop into your favorite lodge from 5 to 7 tonight to sample some Irish whiskeys and even sample their Jameson Orange Irish Mule. Also, the beer of the month is Sam Adams Seasonal Oktoberfest. What's better than the beautiful Twin Peaks girls and awesome drinks? How about pairing that with scratch-made food? As far as restaurants go, their food can compete with just about anyone. Hand-cut New York strips, house-smoked ribs and brisket, and the best wings in the state. Have you seen their wings? They're a meal in and of themselves. Hand-cut, breaded, and battered to order. They're boneless wings, smoked wings, they're naked wings, they're breaded wings. They tackle any appetite. Biggest ones you've seen. And, it pairs well with wings? Football. Twin Peaks should be your destination for football season long. They deliver the best game day atmosphere apart from actually being at the game. Game audio, 50-plus TVs, the best food and drinks in the state. Ask your Twin Peaks girls for awesome drink specials during every football game. To find a location nearest you, go to TwinPeaksRestaurant.com. Twin Peaks, eats, drinks, scenic views. So I'm sitting there thinking about the Lions' issues, which are pretty. If you look at what's happened so far in a 1-1 start, I think we think the defense has a chance to be better, and the offense hasn't clicked on all cylinders. What's really interesting is you have a top 10 rushing offense, you have a top 5 passing offense after 2 weeks. It's a tiny sample size, but that doesn't feel like a team that has massive offensive problems. You couple that with things we talked about there with Jared Goff and Dan Campbell, raising the curtain a little bit that Sam Laporta has been brought along slowly because of his injury and that they've been worried about playing him too many snaps. So Sam Laporta was a huge red zone target last year. Of his 10 touchdowns, 7 came on red zone snaps. You look at Josh Reynolds, who had 5 more touchdowns, 4 on plays within the red zone. And you go, okay, they're moving the football just fine. Fundamentally, they can still move the football up and down the field. When they've gotten to the red zone, there have been some issues, but you assume and hope that the weapon that is Laporta gets used more and more as the weeks go by, and that the trust, it's something that we've focused on and talked about with Tim Patrick, is built. Now, I think if you've listened to this show for a long time, we do have a tendency, you and I, to think about how can things get better, how will they get better, why it's not as bad as it seems. But I think you start adding these things up, bringing Laporta on slowly, Tim Patrick having to play, and I think it's pretty clear they're crash coursing Tim Patrick to be Josh Reynolds and to play that role. Whether he's capable of that or not, we'll find out. But it feels like the red zone issues, you can make a strong case, as I think I'm doing right now, that this isn't something we're going to be talking about come week 5, week 6, week 7. It's an issue now, but is it going to be a long-term issue? And I know you hate when I bring it up, the one thing that you think I'm jinxing them because it's been almost 2 calendar years since they've lost back-to-back games. But Gator, the reason I think it's important, it's because when an issue creeps up on one Sunday, they win the next Sunday. Meaning these things they've been getting addressed by Dan Campbell, by Aaron Glenn, and by Ben Johnson. At least addressed to the point that whatever cost them a game in week 5 doesn't cost them a game in week 6. So that's where I stand.
Yeah, I'm not freaking out about this. I think they need to be more efficient in the red zone. I think they actually need to get inside the 10-yard line for us to see when they become really efficient. Because once you get inside the 10, it looks more obvious that you can run the ball, and teams are going to key for that, particularly when you have a dynamic duel like the Lions have. But that also opens up the tight end getting open. Mm-hmm. It opens up for the possibility that, look at this, Brock Wright just caught a touchdown pass. We don't expect that. Or that Hesse, the other tight end, he gets open for a touchdown because who would think to cover him? I got to worry about Laporta and St. Brown and Jahmyr Gibbs and Jameson Williams. Well, that guy just scored? Damn it. You know, there's so many more options. And yet the first 2 weeks, we just didn't see that many possessions inside the 10-yard line. Hopefully they're able to take care of that. I mean, the ultimate thing is just, hey, you're at the 45-yard line, you throw a pass, the receiver makes a move, and he's in the end zone.
So the other thing is that players aren't chess pieces. They don't move the same every single week. And if you take a look at their play calling in the game against, I think that overtime drive against the Rams has left an impression. And in that overtime drive, David Montgomery carried the ball 4 times for
45 yards.
Is it 45? I thought it was 39 yards. The irony is they did give the ball in the red zone to Jahmyr Gibbs from the LA 18. Jahmyr Gibbs, left tackle. He did get the ball in the red zone there. But I think the memory of Montgomery's overtime drive showed that they aren't chess pieces that move the same every week, because he rushed for more yards in overtime against the Rams than he did all last week against Tampa.
Mm-hmm.
And so what was a great execution and wonderful drive against the Rams didn't carry over to the Tampa game with much regularity, oddly.
No, when Jared Goff talked about all the receiving options that he's got, how he loves to get, he can't wait to get the ball to any one of those receivers, right? Because he's got faith in all those guys. Now, a lot of that is just going to be, being diplomatic and talking about your team, but it's also reality because they do have so many different guys that can shine. So it's not going to be the same guy every week because we talk about so many mouths to feed. I'm getting a little tired of having to say that one, but it makes sense. They've got all these weapons on offense, but you're not going to have 5 guys shining through every week. You're not going to win games 66-0 in the NFL. That doesn't happen. So each week you're going to see somebody emerge and somebody kind of take a back seat.
Now, if they're still kicking field goals or coming up empty in week 3, 4, and 5,
that's a problem.
But I'm not panicked yet.
I'm not either. But looking at Arizona is not a joke. I mean, they scored 28 points against Buffalo to start off, and they lost. Then they went up for 41 against the Rams and won. They ran the ball effectively against the Rams, and it wasn't Kyler Murray necessarily, although he had 59 yards rushing. James Conner ran for 122 yards. They used some other people out of the backfield that you wouldn't expect and ended up with 231 yards rushing in the game. Plus, Kyler Murray threw for 266 and 3 touchdowns and had a perfect quarterback rating in the game of 158.3 because he was 17 out of 21. Marvin Harrison Jr. wasn't really used in the first week. They only targeted him a few times. He catches 4 passes for 130 yards and 2 touchdowns on 8 targets in the game against the Rams. I mean, they've got their work cut out for him. Marvin Harrison Jr., even though he's a rookie in this league, we know how good he is and how talented he is. They've got a talented tight end in Trey McBride, the running back in James Conner. This is an offense that can get you in a number of different ways. Tight end, running back, wide receiver, and then, oh, by the way, their quarterback is a bit of a video game at times. If he gets free, he's trouble. But he also knows when he's just going to lay down. Kyler Murray knows better than anybody else when it's time to slide or when it's time to just give yourself up and not take the hit because he knows how important he is for this team's offense to get going. So if you get pressure on him and he's surrounded, he's not always going to look for the path of escape. He's sometimes will just literally lay down.
Okay, so now if we were wired, Gator, to say why things aren't going to work out, I am a little intrigued and a little concerned about this Laporta injury. Like, is it worse than we knew about? Is it going to be hard for him to get better during the season? Like, why? I didn't think that this was any kind of severe injury that was holding him back in the preseason, and we've kind of heard about it more lately. I'm like, oh, crap, is this worse than we knew?
I mean, the slow start, I would say, yeah, I'm kind of worried about that too. I am a smidge, I'm worried about it, but he got a lot of snaps. He got a lot of snaps in the game on Sunday, so he is healthy. The question is, are they trusting him enough in the passing game right now, even though he's not 100%? They trust him enough to stay in and block and to have contact.
Yeah.
And, Dan Campbell even talked about earlier this week that they do they do look forward to seeing him step up offensively.
Yeah, I think week 1 was clearly they were just taking their time with reps and snaps with Laporta, making sure that, he was getting back into game shape and getting ready for what the season, has in store for, a tight end that gets a lot of targets, which means he's going to get hit a lot. Week 2, he played a ton of snaps, almost every snap. I think it was just Goff was rusty, and I think Ben Johnson's play calling was maybe sporadic at times. I mean, Jameson Williams is getting a lot of targets, it seems like, the first 2 weeks, right? So that's going to take away. They've been using Gibbs in the passing game. I'm not super worried about the offense, and maybe that's me being overconfident in Ben Johnson, the offensive line, and all the playmakers they have. I go back to what you kind of said, Gator, with this game particularly. I'm more on edge about the defense and Kyler Murray and that Arizona offense for week 3. I think the offense comes around for the Lions. I hope the defense stays as strong as it's been the first 2 weeks.
All right, Gator, interesting recruiting pitch. Would it work on you? We will get to that today at 12:32. It's Carson Anderson, Open Lines. We'll revisit some of what Goff had to say a little bit later on. 97.1 The Ticket.
Look, these days it can be really hard to find reliable service. So I'm going to tell you about a great local company that I've worked with, and it's Precision Garage Door. Your garage doors need to be serviced. They need to be maintained in order to make sure that they live a nice, long, happy life for you. Well, these guys are amazing. They work with my schedule, which is totally about customer service. You can schedule your appointment on their website for a time that's going to work for you. There's no need to call in, although you can call. 1-800-DOOR-REPAIR is the telephone number. In fact, all those calls are answered 24/7. They offer the industry's leading warranty. Here's what's great. Weekends, they're available at absolutely no extra charge. And if you mention 97.1 The Ticket, they're going to waive your service fee. That's awesome. Plus, if you're looking for a career, Precision Garage Door is always hiring. So if you want your garage doors done right, do what I did and call Precision Garage Door today. 1-800-DOOR-REPAIR or visit precisiondoormi.com and schedule that appointment.